In 2024, Iran and Israel exchanged missile fire, leading to a tense situation. This time, I would like to explore the relationship between Iran and Israel.
When the Jews were taken to Babylon during the Babylonian captivity, by the time 70 years had passed, Babylon no longer existed. Instead, Persia had taken over, and the Jews were under Persian rule. King Cyrus of Persia, upon learning that his name was mentioned in the Bible, thought it might be a divine sign, and allowed the Israelites to return to their homeland and rebuild the temple. It is said that what King Cyrus saw was the book of Isaiah, although it is unclear how he came to read it. However, finding his name in a prophecy written over 200 years earlier likely made a profound impression on him.
King Cyrus was regarded by the Jews as a non-Jewish messiah, and during Persia's rule, there were no Jewish rebellions.
Subsequently, the ruling powers changed from Greece to Rome, but the temple and walls that King Cyrus had ordered remained intact. The Jews were allowed to worship their God under each successive ruling power. Under Roman rule, a governor was appointed over the province of Galilee. At this time, Herod called himself the King of the Jews, so despite being under Roman rule, a Jewish king existed. Rome's policy was not to impose Roman culture on each province, but to allow a certain degree of freedom as long as taxes were paid. It was in this context that Jesus Christ appeared.
After Jesus' death, the Jews rebelled against Rome and were defeated. The temple was burned down, and many Jews were scattered throughout the world.
Originally, Persia had a religion called Zoroastrianism, and its teachings were present in Persia for a long time. However, from around the Sasanian dynasty, Islam began to rise, and Persia continued to exist as an Islamic state. Although it did not have the vast territory it had during King Cyrus's time, the history of Persia continued, with its borders expanding and contracting to the current boundaries of Iran. From the beginning of the Umayyad Caliphate, Persia was governed as a Shia state. Persia changed its name to Iran in the early 20th century. The meaning of Iran in ancient Persian refers to the land of the Aryans. Historically, the name Iran was officially adopted as the country's name in 1935. Within Islamic countries, there are various perspectives, and many Sunni-majority countries strictly adhere to the teachings of the Quran. In such countries, women rarely go out, and if they do, they must be accompanied by a male relative. They cover their faces and bodies with black clothing so that no skin is visible. However, the interpretation of these rules varies by country. In some countries, it is sufficient for women to wear only a hijab. Shia-majority countries tend to be more lenient, and in Iran and Turkey, women have a certain degree of freedom. Iran's recognition as an oil-producing nation began after 1900. At that time, Iran was still known as Persia and was under the Qajar dynasty. The discovery of oil was made by the British, and since Iran lacked the knowledge of drilling and refining methods, it decided to develop the oil fields jointly with Britain. However, most of the profits went to the British side, leaving Iran with only minimal gains. In 1951, Iran declared the nationalization of the oil industry, which had been monopolized by Britain until then. Britain, disliking this move, proposed compromises, but Iran refused. At that time, Britain was under a Labour Party government, and was mainly focused on domestic politics, with less interest in foreign affairs and colonies. Britain proposed arbitration by the United States. The US, through the CIA, provided large amounts of funds and weapons to anti-government forces, attempting to overthrow the government. Eventually, the government at the time collapsed, and Mohammad Reza Pahlavi was installed as king by a pro-American regime, establishing a monarchy. As a result, Iran once again lost control of its oil industry, and only the pro-American puppet King Pahlavi benefited from this arrangement.
Even so, if King Pahlavi had shared some of the profits with the people, the resentment among the citizens might have been less, as Iran still had a 20% share. In 1971, the 2500th anniversary of the founding of Iran was celebrated, with monarchs from around the world invited to attend. The basis for this 2500-year celebration was the year of the founding of Persia by King Cyrus. This gives us an idea of how affluent the lifestyle of the Pahlavi dynasty was.
While the relationship between King Pahlavi and the United States was excellent, workers within Iran were struggling with poverty. Pahlavi attempted to modernize the country using American capital. Roads were paved, skyscrapers were built, and towns with many branded stores were constructed. Women enjoyed freedom in their clothing choices and became increasingly Americanized. However, this led to widening wealth disparities, and many workers were dissatisfied with the king's methods. They were incited by the religious leader, Ayatollah Khomeini. He demanded governance based on Islamic teachings and gained the support of many young people. Khomeini feared assassination by the Americans, so he temporarily sought refuge in France. However, the voice of revolution grew louder, eventually ousting Pahlavi. And Khomeini returned, leading to the success of the revolution.
During the revolution, American property was confiscated, and many Americans fled Iran. However, about 50 individuals sought refuge in the American embassy, where they were trapped for nearly 3 years. The rescue operation from this embassy is detailed in the movie Argo.
Iran, which sought to establish Islam as its foundation, adhered to the Shia branch of Islam. Shia Islam emphasizes the importance of the lineage of the Prophet Muhammad. Unlike Sunni Muslims who primarily focus on the teachings of the Quran. Within Shia Islam, there is a branch called the Twelver Shia, which advocates for the establishment of religious leaders in governing the country. Iran and the United States still do not have diplomatic relations. And since the American embassy hostage crisis, Iran has intermittently faced economic sanctions from the West. According to Islamic doctrine, Mecca, Medina, and Jerusalem are crucial centers. And Iran maintains a hostile relationship with Israel, which controls Jerusalem. Furthermore, the alliance between the United States and Israel adds to the factors of hostility.
The term imam means leader, and Ayatollah Khomeini claimed to be a descendant of the Islamic founder, Muhammad. The individuals in Iran's leadership who wear black turbans are considered to be of Muhammad's lineage. However, Muhammad was an Arab, while Iranians are Persian. The basis for wearing black turbans is considered weak.
In 2023, Hamas in the Gaza Strip launched missile attacks against Israel. It is believed that Hamas is backed by Iran. In 2024, Iran directly conducted missile attacks against Israel. However, Hamas follows Sunni Islam, which differs from Iran's doctrines. Instead, Iran provides a significant amount of weapons to groups like Hezbollah in Lebanon, which are Shia Muslims. Iran's attacks on Israel were triggered by the assassination of Iranian officials by Israel's Mossad.
In retaliation, Israel has also launched missiles at Iran, targeting areas near nuclear facilities. With Israel's missile precision, they could effectively destroy nuclear facilities. However, Israel likely does not intend to engage in direct war with Iran.
Both Iran and Israel have civilian populations leading ordinary lives, and daily activities are carried out as usual. It is primarily through political decisions that the military is mobilized, displaying signs of hostility towards each other. Iran enforces information control domestically, and access to the internet, including platforms like Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, is restricted. While Iran has deep economic ties with China, France, Turkey, among others, and is not economically distressed. Hyperinflation has led to a decrease in the value of currency. Iranian police enforce regulations against acts contrary to Islam, such as alcohol consumption and women not wearing hijabs. Although at the grassroots level, there doesn't seem to be fervent adherence to Islamic faith. In Israel, both men and women are subject to conscription, serving in the military. I believe that Israel's fate depends on the prime minister, while Iran's fate depends on the beliefs of religious leaders.
Currently, effective control over Jerusalem seems to be a significant key. The ongoing struggle for control over Jerusalem, a land that neither Judaism, Christianity, nor Islam is willing to yield an inch of, will likely continue in the future. Thank you for watching until the end. If you enjoyed, please consider subscribing to the channel.